Alrighty. Well, a very, very happy Wednesday and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin. There we go. All right, just making sure. I had to do some extra recordings for another project, and I wasn't sure if I was able to go back live. That's the only complication that I may have with uh, doing live streams and going live, not going live. It says live, which is great. So we are all clear and underway to go. Well, it is a beautiful day out. I know we're supposed to get some rain tonight into tomorrow morning. It shouldn't impact the Findlay Market Day Parade for opening day for the Cincinnati Reds. But then we're also supposed to get some rain late Thursday night into Friday. And then we're supposed to have some nice, good temperature weathers for Reds baseball. And we got plenty of Reds baseball to talk about today on the program. We will talk about the final four teams that I have to preview of the 2026 season. That is the Athletics, the Seattle Mariners, the San Francisco Giants, and the San Diego Padres. And we will give you our overall prediction here at the end of our show, a recap of who we think is going to win every division, who is going to make it to the playoffs here in 2026, and where we think each team lies. So stay tuned to the very end. You will get a lot of that, but I want to kick things off here today with opening day. All right, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but Major League Baseball is officially back. It's opening night, and the special game is going to be between the New York Yankees and the San Francisco Giants. The game's first pitch is 8:05 Eastern Standard Time. There will be Max Fried on the mound going up against Logan Webb for the Giants. You can watch it nationally on Netflix. If you guys are in the San Francisco area or New York, you guys can listen it to all that on the audio on your radio stations as well. But it's just a clear indication that baseball is back. It's a clear indication that for the next, 180 days, the next 4 months, baseball's here. And there's just something about this time of year. It's something about when you put hot dogs at a ballpark, you can smell the peanuts, you can smell the Cracker Jack, you can smell the fresh cut grass. I mean, out in Great American Ballpark, you could smell the food, the ice cream. You could walk around and just experience the energy of the atmosphere. Baseball is back. And it's great. It's a great feeling. I love the feeling. Matter of fact, I get a better feeling about baseball than I do about football. I get better sensation about baseball than I do wrestling. It's just me. It's what I grew up in. So we have the Yankees. We have the Giants. Now, yesterday I went on a spiel about how I believed that opening day, the first game, should be with the World Series champions. They should have the home game of the year. And just like how football does. And then the following day, or that Sunday night baseball, or whatever the case may be, should also hold the losers from the World Series of the previous year. I just think, I still believe that is a bigger and better thing that would be more coordinating than just to select a game, because the Yankees, they went to the wild card last year. The Giants, they didn't go to the playoffs last year. The Giants are in a little bit different predicament. They have a new manager I will get into in our program today. They picked up Luis Ariz and a couple of decent ball players. Are expected to be half well decent. Is it good enough to be a wild card contender? I'm not too sure about that. But there's nothing special about the Giants team, particularly. There's nothing that really arises to the attention compared to the New York Yankees, where the New York Yankees, they want to get back to the postseason. When you talk about the Yankees, you talk about Aaron Judge, you talk about um, Aaron Judge, you talk about uh, Ron Carlos Stanton, you talk about Max Fried, all these players, Cody Bellinger. Right now in baseball, there's more to talk about than the Yankees. Now, what really intrigues me and the reason why I could get behind this game is because it's in San Francisco. Why not make the Padres opening day? Well, you got, a team who has competed over the last several years. They've been a pretty good team. They're a team who's made it to the wild card last year. The Tigers made it to the playoffs last year. The Tigers have Tariq Skubal, one of the best pitchers in baseball heading into today's season. You also got, they're looking to be run the American League Central. While the Padres are trying to chase behind the Dodgers, I feel like that's a really good matchup. There's an argument for a couple other games out there that we don't see. So the only thing, it's San Francisco, it's the Bay Area, it's Oracle Park. I think it's a great stadium. On television, you can see everything, and that's what I like about it. But could MLB do a better job at selecting the first game of the new season? And maybe that means that we don't get a schedule release until at least November. I know that will hurt a lot of owners because you wouldn't have a chance to start selling season tickets the following year until after the season ends. But, release who your opponents are going to be, say schedule subject to change, and don't announce official dates and whatnot until after the season so that you can emphasize. And maybe you have to move a couple of series around so that you could fit whoever wins the World Series. And even if the, winners of the World Series are on the road, doesn't mean that you can't recognize them. But that's just me from my perspective. But tonight on Netflix, this is also a first time. If you have Netflix, you could watch the Yankees and the Giants tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And and then it just falls into tomorrow. We have the Finley Market Day Parade that tips off at noon. Fox Nice Dean is doing an all-day coverage. It's, whether you have work, whether you have school, or you decided to play hooky or call off and pretend you're sick, either to head out to the ball game. I know I'll be here talking to you guys live at noon. Noon to 1 is our special time tomorrow. It's not really special. It's our daily program. But we'll get you guys ready for the ball game at 4 o'clock. I know I'm sitting on my couch watching the Reds and the Red Sox. Now, talking about the Reds and the Red Sox, this is the prime reason that, and I got that feeling, man. And when I really got that feeling earlier this week, I was nudging my teeth, trying to just refrain of sitting on my hands, praying that everything went our way. Well, it was reported yesterday that Nick Lodolo, left-handed pitcher for the Reds, was removed from the game very early on because he had a blistered finger. And so the Reds have decided that they are going to put him on the IL prior to this season, prior to the opening day lineup. And, you know, I'm not trying, I'm trying to find positives out of this. Okay. I'm trying to find the positives and stay optimistic about what this Reds team has to provide, because we still have a lot to provide. I mean, but In scenarios where we are earlier this month, we've learned that Hunter Green was going to be out until mid-July. That was a gut-wrenching information that we received. Now we are learning that Nick Lodolo is going to be out for at least the first series or two, maybe even three, because he has a blister on his finger. And, a blister on a finger is not a big deal, right? You just let it heal. There's really no timetable of its healing. And you hope we could get Nick Lodolo back as soon as possible. But here's the reflection of looking into everything. Coming into spring training, the Reds had Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Andrew Abbott, and Brady Singer expected to be 4 of the 5 guys in the rotation. Now, that 5th spot was a battle between Chase Burns, Brandon Williamson, Rhett Lauder, maybe a Julian Aguirre, and it was going to be the best pitcher who walked away from spring who earned that spot. Now, we've had countless of discussions, and I think we came to the conclusion maybe about 2 weeks ago, before all this kind of unraveled, was that Chase Burns was the best option. Rhett Lauder, Brandon Williamson, most 2 pitchers that have gotten injured in 2025, and it would be better to start them off down in the minor leagues. But the concept was to have ourselves a 2 to 3 starters down there in AAA that we felt comfortable throughout the course of this year. If someone would get injured, they would fill in. Now, Hunter Green goes out with an injury. This is an elbow injury where he has bone chips moving around in his elbow. So he goes in and he cleans a lot of that stuff out. Something that was actually related from last year. I guess the frustration from learning about that was that we ignored, as a team, as a fan base, we ignored that for practically 4 or 5 months. And it's just a mistake that we are going to see affect us, because it will affect us. We don't get this ace pitcher in Hunter Green every 5 days in April, May, June, and or July. And that's if everything goes okay, because he could be out longer than that. The longer he is out, the more it affects the Reds. And if the Reds don't make it to the playoffs this year, this is a turning point that you could look back on this year and say, well, one of the biggest mistakes the Reds made was not to follow up in what we saw with Hunter Green. Sure, I get it that no pitcher, nobody, whether you're a pitcher, a coach, a position player, a hitter, I don't care. Nobody wants to be cut open and wants to have surgery. It takes time away, the real rehabilitation. There is a lot of process to that. But this could have been something that was avoided heading into this new year, because, like I said, I preached all month long, this is a team that wants to thrive, but yet every time we take a step forward, we are brought back 4 or 5 steps because of some sort of injury that could have been prevented from last year. So I'm disappointed in the outcome. I'm not disappointed that Hunter Green has to have surgery. I'd rather do it now than find out in July or even in May, where then he's out until September, and we really need him in August and September. And I'm only assuming, okay, I know that makes an ass of you and me, but my assumption is that he's going to have some time in the minor leagues. I don't know if he's going to be ready in July. But now we're already planning the last 2 weeks. Well, what are our options? Well, we already know we had to fill in 1 slot. This is now 2 slots that we have to fill in. That leaves 1 of the 3 pitchers that were battling for 1 slot at the beginning of spring would only be in the minor leagues. Now, that's the purpose of having depth in the rotation. Now we learn that just within days of heading into opening day, days away from opening day at Great American Ballpark, that another pitcher, Nick Lodolo, is going to be out with an injury. Now they say April 5th, but I can't put a really timetable on it. Apparently, it's to the significance that he needs to be on the IL to begin the season. So now that's using two of the three pitchers that were supposed to be battling on the main roster. Now, look, this is a great opportunity for these young guys, and it was already, you know, relevant to expose and claim that, hey, Chase Burns, Rhett Lauder, Brandon Williamson was going to start the 2026 season on the roster, but the design was to rotate to see who was going to have the better fit. Because let's face it, numbers don't lie. And I know numbers don't necessarily mean a whole lot heading into, out of spring training, but I didn't really see anything credible. I didn't see anything that made me comfortable with what I watched or made me excited for heading into the season. Yes, I do have a lot of expectations out of those three guys, just as much as I do out of, our original four. And now two of our four guys is out, and now we're kind of running a little bit scarce in depth. It kind of reminds me of the 2021 season, maybe 2022, where you have hope, we have potential, and all of it just starts crumbling away when injury starts before the season even begins. So, I'm going to remain optimistic because it doesn't really change much of the status quo other than this is your opportunity to add another bullpen. I haven't seen really much who has been added. We can review that tomorrow. But I'm going to be frank with you. Let's be real with each other. Hunter Green, which is our ace, he's out. Now Nick Lodolo only leaves Andrew Abbott, and it leaves Brady Singer. And I can't even head into this season saying that I'm confident with the pitchers that I have that could give us at least minimum of 5 innings. It kind of reminds me of what the Reds managers previously has brought to the table. We sit here and we're finding this information out, and we're trying to figure out how we place them in. Well, guess what? The elite teams, they don't have these issues. The elite teams, the teams that are expected to win their division, the teams that are favored to go far in the playoffs, and even the ones that are expected or have the aspirations of being in the World Series this year, they don't have the issues that the Reds have. And heading into spring, there was some good issues. Now, I don't know, at least on the pitching rotation, I'm getting a little thin with, all right, well, if let's say somebody else goes out, Brandon Williamson fits in, who's next? And to me, if I can't really name you who's next, a Chase Petty, a Julian Aguilar, or Lyon Richardson, I don't know. But, and, then you start having to dig of who they are. And so unless you're really embedded into the minor league system, who are your minor league guys that you feel confident enough to get the call up if needed? It was a great idea knowing that we had some options. Now it gets a little bit concerning, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I am a little bit concerned. I do hope that, not only that everything goes well, but we can get out of this slump of our pitching because, like I said, 5 innings is a required to have ourselves. I'm not going to overwork the bullpen, and you could shut our season down today if you think that we're going to even consider, our bullpen to go in the 4th or 5th inning. If that's going to be our practice, then we don't have anything. On top of that, next you know, we're going to see our bullpen days. Well, winning teams don't have bullpen days. Very, very few of them. Let's not bring that back to the squad. So Nick Lodolo ends up on the IL. For me, it's a little bit disappointing. I'm a little bit nervous heading into the season. Yes, we have players who could cover it, and that's what they're there for. But I really, really hope that Lodolo can come back as soon as possible, and we can get this ball rolling because we're already out Hunter Green until July. And I don't, like I said, from what I've seen during spring, I do not feel that these guys are just ready yet. We will be ready, just not yet. Some positive news coming out of Cincinnati is that former first baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, Joey Votto, has donated a Verdant clock to the Reds organization. It sits outside the main entrance of the Cincinnati Reds Great American Ballpark. And I think this is cool. This is kind of like one of those old school clocks. It's about 17 feet tall. It tells the time and it has the Reds, Cincinnati, and then the Reds, embravements, the clock in the face. The top has been selectively custom painted to fit like a baseball. And it kind of also plays music to, like take me out to the ball game at every hour. And I think this is a great addition. I appreciate Joey Votto being able to donate that to the Cincinnati Reds. We are, embracing, the fact that I do feel that we have done him a little dirty. The Reds, did not allow him to finish his career in Cincinnati as the Reds, in a Reds uniform. And I just feel like that was something when you dedicate your entire career, you've accomplished, you become a beloved player in the city. How can you not get recognized that way? And now you see the humbleness of Joey Votto. Beyond that, we know that this is his home, and he's joined Major League, it's Cincinnati Reds to do other things. So thank you, Joey Votto. If no one's ever thanked you before about this, thank you for donating something that we can now cherish when we get back to the ballpark. Haven't been out there. I want to actually go out there and see it. Hopefully at some point this year we'll get a chance to do it. I know they'll do it on televised. I got my MLB The Show, not MLB The Show. I got my MLB At Bat free subscription going on T-Mobile on the T-Mobile Tuesdays. You could get all the out-of-market games by visiting, by redeeming your free subscription from the T-Mobile Tuesday app and then log in and link it to your account. On top of that, I went ahead and purchased my Cincinnati Reds TV deal so I could get all the Reds games heading into the season. It's a affordable, great price, 162 games at $99.99. Like I said, I mentioned about that last year. It's a combination that all the out of market MLB TV games. All right, what I have that T-Mobile offers values at $159 a year. And that doesn't include Cincinnati Reds games. So if you throw in the $99.99 package, that's $260+ a season to get every single Major League Baseball game. And that's just the tip of the iceberg because you don't just get the television-wise, you get the audio. I know the app has been refreshed, and not only you get the audio, but you get you could go back and listen and watch older games. The other thing is you get minor league games too. So, if for a Reds fan, if you want to go in and check out what the Louisville Bats, are doing, and by the way, they're playing down there this Friday, right? They open their season up. And so this is a great opportunity to check them out. There's no Reds game on Friday. So the value for $100, you're saving yourself $150 and you get all 30 ball clubs day or night. I think that's a really good deal. Don't know about you, but that's what I think. But I digress on that. All right. The Cincinnati Bearcats performed at the Joe Nuxle Classic. I had it here. I gotta pull it up. Apparently, I gotta pull it up again. Let me pull it up again. Oh no, I have it here. Cincinnati Bearcats ranked number 25 heading into yesterday's game. They ended up losing, falling short to the Xavier Musketeers, who have played and won some pretty exciting games thus far this season. They end up Xavier beat Cincinnati 4-3 final score. Quentin Coates goes 2 for 5 with a home run on his record. It was in Xavier, just right across the highway. And now the Bearcats will head back to UC Baseball Stadium, get ready for a 3-game series against Kansas beginning Friday through Sunday. All those games will be available on the ESPN Plus. Watch some Bearcats baseball and follow them. Look, uh, I think it's hard for any sport to be in the top 25, especially when it's easy to overlook you with a lot of other programs. Now, the Bearcats been playing really good baseball. I think they need to continue playing really good baseball, bounce back and take the series against Kansas this weekend would probably be really essential to their success. But it's just a game. You're not going to win them all, right? So but Quentin Coates out of the Cincinnati Bearcats roster, man, he's been having one hell of a year, another home run. This is a kid that you expect to get on base multiple times. If not, you're leaving it over the plate. He's going to capitalize. And almost every game, I'm expecting something big to happen from Quentin Coates. So, he's just a tip of the iceberg there to the Bearcats' success. But they did fall short, and they'll pick things up hopefully here later on. All right, other news coming out of Cincinnati, some positive news, especially coming out of the Cincinnati Bengals, is that quarterback Joe Flacco has decided to return and signed a 1-year deal with Cincinnati just the other day. It was just announced, according to Jeffrey Fowler on ESPN, that quarterback Joe Flacco will be returning. He signed with the organization last year, midst of the season. Where he wasn't signed, he was traded from the Cleveland Browns, and he held down the fort for Joe Burrow while he was recovering from his surgery that took him out until at least Thanksgiving. Now, look, as much as I'm excited and I'm thrilled and I'm pleased to see Joe Flacco come back. I think he's like 41 years old. He is someone who I think can be dependable, reliable. He gets what the Bengals are trying to do here. He understands it builds a chemistry among the other players. And I'm sure I'm more confident out of Joe Flacco compared to Jake Browning. Like I said, I don't know what happened last year with Jake Browning, but man, was not the same quarterback that I saw when he ended up going in and taking on, just facing, just being embarrassing games. So I think there is a sense of leadership that comes with Joe Flacco on the sidelines that he can also chirp and talk, and he can really. I see Joe Flacco and Joe Burrow really utilizing their wisdom on and off the field, collaborating, and all this fun stuff. I really do see all that. And then I also see Joe Flacco carrying his wisdom to the younger guys on the sidelines. So working with the receivers and the running backs and the tight ends, man, just his presence to me feels a lot more. I really do wish that he got the opportunity to start for another team, but we're glad that we're able to pick him up, and we have him as a backup quarterback. How do you guys feel about that? All right, before we get on, we're moving right along into this program. Before we move on, we want to just this is not a sponsor read. This is not an endorsement. But we do talk about WWE and the road to WrestleMania. We just announced that Becky Lynch and AJ Lee for the Women's Intercontinental Championship will be held at WrestleMania, and equivalent to WrestleMania and the WWE 2K26 is available now, released earlier this month. There's universe mode. There's is your career mode where you could play as a superstar or create your own personnel. There's GM mode where you could take a brand, draft it, and have full control over how that brand operates. There's also showcase mode where you could play as CM Punk throughout his career. There's also a special feature in the showcase mode where you have the ability to change the results of a match that took place in the past, thanks to the WWE 2K26 creators. You can get your game today by visiting 2K, WWE, your app store in your console, or going to the store. WWE 2K26 available now. Also available now is the MLB The Show 26. Right? They just released about 2 weeks ago. You guys could follow along and play franchise mode where you select a team or select multiple teams to control and operate throughout the course of the 2026. You have a choice to play the entire game or moments of the game, highlighting key impactful moments, bottom of the nine, 2 on, 2 outs. They also have Diamond Dynasty. They also have Road to the Show. Get to see all the new graphics and all that stuff. One thing I'll say about the show, I finally dived into the game yesterday. Now, uh, you know, to our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, we have tonight's baseball game available. That is the Yankees and the Giants. A CPU versus CPO that is tied along to our franchise mode where we are playing as the Cincinnati Reds. That is and then, tomorrow we have a couple of games. We could get into that. But then we have, I was playing it, and boy, they have some new graphics. And I just, I hear a lot of people giving their take. They're like, well, it's not polished. It's not this. It's not that. And I'm like, man, what else do you want? How else does it need to be? It's a baseball game. It's the little things that I also resonate and enjoy the most, like the cutscenes. Like you play the game halfway through your game, they have highlights to kind of get you going, just like a broadcast would have if you're watching on television. You have different angles, you have a couple different spots that you can different cutscenes that you can view the stadium it's surrounding. They have added more to that, and those are things that I appreciate because one of my goals is to get to all 30 stadiums, and I've only been to a selected few, and I want to get out to them, but you can't, not always can. So I want to be able, and so to be able to see that in the game, just in the crisp, it's not going to be perfect, but it's good enough to be like, wow, I think they outdone themselves. I'm very pleased. MLB The Show 26 available now. Get your game today. Be sure to follow the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel as we are going to give you. So here's what I told you guys yesterday. We are playing as the Cincinnati Reds throughout the course of the 2026 season. So every game we will play and have it on the TNC Sports. Then we will add a few additional key marquee matchups. All right. So, for example, this weekend, it's opening weekend. There's a lot of other games going around Major League Baseball. Obviously, we will have the Boston Red Sox and the Reds. We have them on opening day tomorrow. We have them on Saturday. We have them on Sunday. But then, for example, tonight, the Yankees and the Giants, first game of the 2026 season. We will have that game presented on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. We have a doubleheader tomorrow because not only the Red Sox and the Reds play, but we're also going to have the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, World Series champions. Then we have on Friday night baseball, which we will typically not do, but between the Athletics and the Blue Jays. And then we have the Tigers and the Padres on Saturday, and Sunday night baseball. We will have the Mariners and the Guardians. And so throughout the course of the year, games that I think will be interesting that doesn't overlap what the Cincinnati schedules are, plays, we will try to play them. So we may have a Saturday game, doubleheader on Saturday, doubleheader on Sunday. We may have a doubleheader on a Wednesday or on a Thursday, just whatever the schedule really points out to be. And that's what we have. But MLB The Show 26 available now. All right. Let's move right along. Going to get over to the Athletics. They're sitting at the top of the division here in Lindsay Sports. So, all right. So let's dive into the Athletics baseball team and give you a preview of what they look at here heading into 2026. Last year, they finished off 76 and 86. They didn't really add a whole lot of different players to their team. Okay, this is a team that's at a crossroads. They are playing in Sacramento. They are playing at the Sutter Health Park, which is a temporary home for the Athletics as they await their new stadium in Las Vegas. I believe that's another, what, 3 years down the road. The Athletics, though, always find a way every once in a while to surprise a lot of people. Now, last year wasn't so great. And according to Lindsay Sports, they actually are predicting that the Athletics are going to take it up a notch. Not a wild card wise, but they're going to take it up a notch. Now, I find that hard to believe. Now, one of the biggest pitchers you have coming out of here is going to be Luis Severino. Since going 19 for 8 with the Yankees in 2018. So Severino has gone 32 and 30. So playing about 500. Still projected to be one of the best pitchers out of the Athletics. You have Luis Morales, a part of a begoing youth movement for the Athletics pitching staff. This will be a team that you project as they head into Vegas to be one of your top players. Luis Medina, yet to show enough control, thrives as a starter, a good candidate for a bullpen conversation if it doesn't work out. You have Mark Leiter, who was picked up by this organization, low spin on a splitter and a big, slow curveball, makes him tough for lefty batters. The pitching rotation, the pitching staff isn't nothing credible. I think it's going to be a combination of small, young opportunity climax. When I think of the Athletics, I think of a team who thrives off of young people. They don't have a high budget for a lot of talented sparks. Usually talent is built there, traded off. Or if you want to keep your spotlight as long as possible as you get older, you may visit or you want to reinvent your spark, you revisit the A's. Usually that's what I consider this team. Jeff McNeil, okay, and which the A's gave up a solid pitcher prospect to plug this player in, but he's filled in not only as a second baseman but as a good hole into this. Now we're talking about the Muncy of the Athletics, not the Muncy of the Dodgers. But third baseman Max Muncy probably strikes out too much at the plate with his skills. Tyler Soderstrom, who I think the Athletics have invested in, okay, Center Health Park inflated his numbers, but his progress at the plate was real. This is a projective guy that, as like I said, we go into this new stadium and this new era of athletics baseball. We're expected to see a lot more. We have take a look at some of the prospects coming out. Leo de Vrias, okay, hitting centerpiece of Mason Miller trade return. With general upside, he shows discipline, hitting good power, even as an 18-year-old in Double-A. Jamie Arnold, left-handed pitcher, 11th pick of the 2025 draft. Lefty features his mid-90s fastball plus slider and changeup. If he should move quickly, control, he should, things should look pretty good for him. Henry Bolt, an outfielder. Speed shines, center field and in right field. With over 40 stolen bases consecutive seasons, he needs better contact and left to compete in the offensive profiles. I like this team. I really do. I like the A's. We value Jacob Lopez. Doesn't throw, hard balls, but he does have a good dominate fastball. We also kind of stay off and maybe keep an eye out for Zach Geloff. He's had an ugly 45% strikeout rate last year, while injuries played a huge part of that. He's on his last chance and last hope. So for me, the A's always start off good, but then at some point they kind of just fall off. The competition becomes, well, who falls off harder and quicker, and once you fall off, it's kind of hard to just get back onto the wings. Do they stay longer than the Rangers, longer than the Angels? In that case, I project them to finish in fourth place this season. I want to go ahead and talk about the Seattle Mariners as we preview their 2026 season. They finished last year with a 90-72. They went to the American League Championship, taking it to Game 7, losing it to the Toronto Blue Jays. They have the aspiration and the anticipation to yet again dominate the AL West. Something that took me by surprise was their dominance in the AL West. This is where I was a little bit out of baseball last year somewhere, and for somewhere in the mix, the Mariners took over the division, and I think that they're still right there. Guys like Cal Raleigh, Josh Naylor, Ben Williamson coming up, J.P. Crawford is there, Randy. I mean, this is Julio Rodriguez. This is a well-known, lineup that, is going to be dominant. There's no doubt about that heading into this season. Let's look at that rotation that adds on to it. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Bryce Miller, Luis Castillo. Castillo is steady, veteran arm, no longer a frontier starter, but he still provides an impact to that fourth and fifth spot of the rotation. It allows guys like Brian Rue and Bryce Miller to kind of step up and be those breakout stars. Brian, you expected to be a breakout pitcher of the year. So, when you look at a design rotation, you can't look at anything better than what the Mariners have. And there's really, Cal Raleigh was going off of a really good year last year. Expected to break out again this year. Josh Naylor added on to the mix. A little change scenery there. J.B. Crawford, Randy Arozarena, Julio Rodriguez. I get scared going up against the Mariners. And look, coming out of their prospects, Colton Emerson, shortstop, third base combination. He's a prize prospect. He's made smooth accents, hitting and for average with 50 extra base hits. That's what you like to see with 600 plate appearances. Could he win an opening day job, though? Would be nice to see. Maybe a guy coming off the bench. Cade Anderson, left-handed pitcher. Favored rising fastball, up to mid-90s. MLB caliber secondary stuff. He's posted a grotty 5.1 strikeout to walk ratio in college. Looking at the carryover. Michael Arroyo, second baseman, stocky, but built for a pop. Found a little after the midseason promotion to Double-A last summer. Won't be a plus on defense, but has a good approach at the plate. If you look at how prospects fall through this year, for what teams and all that stuff, I look at the Dodgers and the Mariners, who have the best of the best when it comes down to prospects in minor leagues, developing systems, and all of the above. They are dangerous teams for us to be reckoned with. I have trajectory that the Seattle Mariners will win the division. They will probably, I would honestly argue that Seattle will have the best record of baseball and have home field advantage in this year's American League playoffs. Let's take a look at the San Diego Padres. They recorded a 90-72 year last season. They've added a new manager in Craig Stammen. Lindsay Sports projects them to play second, and I like to think that way too, but it's not going to be an easy season this year. They are another team with a full amount of names, which you think should have good talent. Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis Jr., Ramon Laureano finds his placement with the organization, as well as Jackson Merrill, dealt with injuries. Now we look into what this rotation has. Michael King, Nick Pivetta, Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove, the expectation to be back this year, but where is he? Nick Pivetta, who's gotten just the opening day nod coming up tomorrow against the Tigers. He's becoming more of a complete pitcher and more durable. Okay, got Randy Vasquez in there, J.P. Sears as well. Mason Miller expected to be the closer. He threw 104 miles of fastball last season. There's a lot of high hopes, high expectation. The problem are those Dodgers. The problem is that once we get to the playoffs, how do you get beyond in the playoffs? The problem is with the Padres is that their internal clock is ticking. The contract uses of Machado, Tatis, Bogaerts, they're going to be running out. Could this be the last year that the Padres put something together? They departed ways with their GM last year. Now they've needed to add back in again. A team that I really did admire in the prospects-wise. They got Ethan Salas, 17-year-old Double-A, two years ago. Now he's 19 years old and finished in the 2025 season of Double-A. Injuries issues have definitely put a mark out there. Starting to worry people. But the ceiling is still a plus for Ethan. You got Cash Mayfield, a left-handed pitcher. Tall lefty. Okay. Firm arm. Deceptive changeup to use for strikeouts. 35% of hitters he's faced takes the first in his first taste of pro ball. You have what about Cruz Schoolcraft, left-handed pitcher, 6'8", first round. Name you'll remember even if it doesn't pan out. This is upper 90s fastball as well as developed, changed, make him less of a project than any other high school pitchers. Cruz Schoolcraft reminds me of guys like name Kevin Kuzminoff, right? Khalil Green, um, Chase Headley. Remember Kevin Kuzminoff, Padres fans? The Kuz, man. Um, Michael King deserves a Arsenal gives frontline starters heading into the season. Nick Pivetta, magical season with the Padres. Don't play to repeat the performance. Hopefully he does. I have the Padres finishing off in second place. I feel like the Dodgers and the Padres are those top two teams. Now we look over into the San Francisco Giants. Last year they finished off 500. Baseball, they got a new manager, Tony Ventello at Oracle Park. They'll be playing against tonight against the Yankees. Patrick Bailey, another just ongoing catcher, seems to pan out for the Giants quite well. Chapman, Willie Adames. You got Luis Matos, Rafael Devers into it, but that's not it, right? I mean, you look at this, you also Luis Arise, and they have some potential here. Logan Webb, Robbie Ray. Uh, you also like Adrian Hauser there. Injuries, right? We talk about injury, can't talk about them enough here. But there's just nothing but good stuff to talk about the Giants here. Robbie Ray is going to be a pitcher to look out for. Hard to trust with his walks, right? Home run, also pronouns, and will get worse probably throughout time. Matt Chapman improves his contact and speed last year. Oracle Park hurts his power, but he is still a fantasy guy to look out for. Prospect wise, looking down there in the farm system, Dakota Jordan, an outfielder, two-part star in high school. Jordan chose baseball as a plus power. He can be really quick in the outfield, though he carries slightly more strikeouts worries than Eldridge. You got Josiar Gonzalez as a top-rated position player in 2025 international class. Gonzalez generates hype as a switch hitter who could drive the ball from both sides of the plate as well. I got the Giants to finish off in third place of the upcoming season. I feel like they just will hang in there a little bit more so than the Diamondbacks. All right. Let's do a quick rundown. MLB 2026 is here. It's time for our official division by division standings and our predictions for the 2026 Major League season. We'll start off with the American League and visit the American League East, as I officially predict that the Toronto Blue Jays will win the division. The Toronto Blue Jays is one of the teams that I favor to go back to the American League Championship. Followed by the Blue Jays, I have the New York Yankees. Despite concerning injuries with Giancarlo Stanton, and the Yankees do have injuries from time to time, the Yankees are in favored to be another wild card contender. Followed by the Boston Red Sox, Baltimore Orioles, and the Tampa Bay Rays. Heading into the American League Central, I have the Detroit Tigers winning the division. They are another fun candidate to compete for the American League Championship. I also have the Kansas City Royals finishing second, followed by the Cleveland Guardians, then the Minnesota Twins, and the Chicago White Sox. In the West, I have the Seattle Mariners, and this year I think that the Mariners could get to the World Series. Followed by that, I will have the Houston Astros, followed by the Texas Rangers, then the Athletics, and to finish off in last place, the Los Angeles Angels. In the wild card in the American League, I have the Yankees, Red Sox, and Royals. all advancing into the playoffs. In the National League, well, to start off in the East, I have the Philadelphia Phillies making headway, winning the division. Then I have the New York Mets coming in second, followed by the Atlanta Braves, then the Miami Marlins, and the Washington Nationals. In the Central, I have the Chicago Cubs winning the division. Then I have the Cincinnati Reds coming back in second place. And then I have Milwaukee Brewers, Pittsburgh Pirates, and St. Louis Cardinals. In the West, I have the Los Angeles Dodgers winning the division, favored to go back to the World Series for their third time, followed by the San Diego Padres, the San Francisco Giants, Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Colorado Rockies. I have the Padres, Reds, and Mets heading to the postseason. That is my prediction. What do you guys think about that? Prediction of 2026. As you learn some new things heading into 2026, the injuries of Spencer Strider with the Braves, and he's going to be out for a while. Things really connect. And look, it's hard to choose because, like I said, Arizona, Pittsburgh has the opportunity to really project forward. It's going to come down to who can stay healthier the longest and who really breaks out. And that's where my projection sits. So that has completed us another episode of the TNC Sports Talk. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Okay. Be sure. All right. I can't explain this enough, but be sure to head over to our TNC Sports Talk YouTube page. If you haven't liked, share, and subscribe yet, haven't subscribed, do that. Hit those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. MLB The Show 26 franchise mode set to begin. I have some other projects that I want to get started with as they develop. I will let you guys know, but I'm excited for this opportunity. I can't wait to bring you the games. The content I think is great for gaming wise, and I'm just thrilled to be able to share that with you. So share it, subscribe to the channel, have those notifications on. In the meantime, follow us on our social media pages. We're very, very, very active on Facebook page. So share it, like it, stay up to date with all of our news and sports and what's going on in Cincinnati. Also, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, we could be founded on there. This podcast, our episode is uploaded to our audio podcast on our TNC Sports Talk. You can find us on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. If we're not on there, let us know. We will get on there. But opening day is tonight. The San Francisco Giants and the New York Yankees get away tonight at 8 p.m. on Netflix. Let's tune in. Let's chat that up tomorrow. Tomorrow we will come back and get you guys ready for the Cincinnati Reds and the Boston Red Sox information you guys need to know. And heading into this new season as Andrew Abbott is squared to get opening day underway. So all that still to come. We'll be back again tomorrow at noon. But until then, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And until tomorrow, have a great rest of your day.